So if the reasoning was the inferring of new information from what is already known, then the problem solving is the process of finding a solution to an unfamiliar task using knowledge. So human problem solving is characterized by the ability to adapt the information we have to deal with new situations. There are a number of different views of how people solve problems. So there are several theories. The earliest, dating back to the first half of the 20th century, is the Gestalt view. According to the Gestalt view, the problem solving involves both productive and reproductive. Productive draws an insight and restructuring of problem, but reproductive problem solving is drawing a solution to the problem from previous experiences. But productive problem solving involves insight and restructuring of the problem. Problem space theory. So this was proposed by the Newell and Simon. The problem solving centers on the problem space, and the problem space comprises of problem states. So problem solving involves generating states using legal operators, and this while solving these problems we need some heuristics, which may say means, ends, analysis, and also this problem says that the human has its own limitations, so operates within human information processing system as long as in the short-term memory we cannot access very quickly the information. But this problem space theory is applied to problem solving in well-defined areas like puzzles rather than knowledge-intensive areas. The next solving problem theory is the analogy. So when we want to make the analogical mapping. So here we are interested on novel problems when we are going to use for some analogies of that problem, and we are going to map to the similar problems from similar domain and use those knowledges and try to solve that problem. But of course it's very difficult if the domains are different. Then the next theory is skill acquisition. So skilled activity characterized by chunking. So there is lots of information, and we are going to divide, or the information is going to be chunked in order to optimize our short-term memory. It is considered that we are going to find the solution to some problem, but of course that problem is not so unfamiliar, so it's almost familiar, but the skill acquisition is the information in solving that problem is structured and it is more effectively. Skill acquisition. So skill acquisition is redoing familiar problem. That we have errors and mental models. Of course people are doing the mistakes, yes, because of people understands wrongly or incorrect understanding, or they are modeling or a situation that is incorrect situation, or there is an incorrect model, or where people are building their own theories to understand the causal behavior of systems. And these are the things that people can do, so people can make the errors, yes. And the type of errors are slips and mistakes. Slips are the when we have the right intention but we are failed to do it right. Causes, of course, poor physical skills, inattention, etc. Change to aspect of skill behavior can cause slip, but mistakes, it is wrong intention, cause incorrect understanding. So if wrong, then errors can occur, yes, so the mistakes can occur. So here, as we said, people make some models, some mental models that are explaining some behavior. So for example, in one hotel in Germany, there was a lift, and near the lift there was a button. If you press on this button, the lights has been turned off or switched off. So when the people want to call the lift, as we already know, when we are going to face some lift, we are just pressing the button near the lift, and we assume that this button will help us or will call the lift. But here, unfortunately, this button is there for light switch, and the lift button was in the near side of the lift, so in the inner side of the lift. So here the light switch and the lift button were inconsistent with our mental models, because we would probably have managed if they had been encountered separately, yes. If we wouldn't find out the button beside the lift, we would have looked more closely and found the one on the inner rim. But since the light switch reflected our model of a lift button, we looked no further. So during that stay, people observed that many more new guests were making the same error. So this illustrates the importance of a correct mental model and the dangers of ignoring conventions. So when we are going to design something, we should also look of how people are interpreting that or the other thing, how we are in normal life are perceiving that information, or how we are looking for that information. If we won't look at those conventions, or if we will violate those conventions, so we would have some explicit problems, yes. Or if it is violated, we should give some explicit support there, saying that the lift button is in the inner rim, not in the outside. So those things are the wrong intentions. It means these wrong intentions make people do the errors. There are various, let's say in this way, so we have concentrated on human perceptual, yes, and cognitive abilities, but we have also our emotions. The emotion enable us to, or our emotional response to situations affect how we perform. For example, positive emotions enable us to think more creatively, to solve complex problems, whereas negative emotion pushes us into narrow, focused thinking. A problem that may be very easy when we are relaxed will be that's easy to solve. When we are relaxed, will be more difficult. I mean, if the not more difficult, if we are relaxed, then the problem would be easier. And if we are, for example, angry, we aren't in the good mood, then the easiest problem will be a difficult for us. So a problem that may be easy to solve when we are relaxed will become difficult if we are frustrated or afraid. So psychologists have studied emotional response for decades, and there are many theories as to what is happening when we feel an emotion and why such a response occurs. So emotion, according to the James Lange, emotion is our interpretation of a physiological response to a stimuli. According to the canon, emotion is a psychological response to a stimuli, and Schachter-Singer, emotion is the result of our evaluation of our psychological responses in the light of the whole situation we are in. So if we conclude emotion, we can say that it's an interpretation of our physiological response to a stimuli. Yes? And the emotion clearly involves both cognitive and physical responses to stimuli. So the biological response to physical stimuli is called affect. So affect influence how we respond to situations. If the positive, it means we are going to have the creative, we are going to approach with the creative problem solving. If it is negative, then we are going to think narrowly. So according to the Donald Norman, negative affect can make it harder to do even easy tasks, and positive affect can make it easier to do difficult tasks, as we said before. So implications for interface designs: when we are going to design any interface, stress will increase the difficulty of problem solving. So while we are going to create any system, yes, we should try to make people not stressed, and relaxed users will be more forgiving of shortcomings in design and aesthetically pleasing. So while designing the interface, we can say that if the person is stressed, that will increase the difficulty of problem solving. If the person is relaxed, the users will be more forgiving of shortcomings in design. If the interface is aesthetically pleasing and rewarding, it will increase the positive effects. From this, we can derive that the individuals have different emotions and are different responding to the stimuli. So in this chapter, we have been discussing humans in general. We have made the assumption that everyone has similar capabilities and limitations, and that we can therefore make generalizations. And we should remember that although we share a process in common, humans, therefore users, are not all the same. Individuals are different according to their physiological, intellectual abilities, according to the short-term some situations, effect of stress or fatigue, the age changing, we can say that all individuals are different. Of course, there are things that we can generalize, but we should be aware of also individual differences. And these differences should be taken into account when we are going to do any design or when we are going to design. It's useful to consider for any design decisions. So ask yourself, will design decision exclude section of user population? So for example, we should look to our target users, yes? And psychology and the design of interactive systems. So there are some direct applications that if we use a blue acuity, blue color to emphasize that something is important, it won't be so correct, yes, because blue acuity is poor. Blue shouldn't be used for important detail. But however, correct application generally requires understanding of context in psychology and an understanding of particular experimental conditions. And these things are given for us by the guidelines, by the cognitive models, by the experimental analytic evaluation techniques. So we will see it later. For today, we have seen just the input-output channels. We have seen the thinking, the reasoning of some problems, problem solving, and that emotions are also influence the interaction of the human and the system. And lastly, we can say that we have some general, we can generalize something or some of the characteristics of the users, but at the end, in the conclusion, we are saying that all the users are different. So when we are going to design any interactive system, we are going to look to our target group and to their states of emotion or their states. Have a nice day. See you.